Welcome back to Foot in Mouth. It's another big Premier League weekend. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. And if the fact that it was a London derby isn't stressful enough, it's also first versus second. So the result of this game could have a massive impact in who wins it all come the end of the season. And I'm a lot more nervous about this game than I thought I was in the build-up. But that being said, I am still confident. I think I have my reasons, which I'm going to get into in this episode. That's going to be the main focus of this episode, naturally, this fixture, because there's a lot to talk about. There's the age-old debate of Rice versus Caicedo. It's very weird that it is still a debate because I think that there is a very obvious answer to it, and I will get into that in this episode. But not only that, there's a lot of interesting players to talk about from either side. Both teams coming into this off of huge wins in the Champions League. But Chelsea beat Barcelona, Arsenal beat Bayern Munich. Both were home games, so neither side really traveled anywhere. Both sides were kind of able to rest a few players. So it's going to be a very tough game. So naturally, yeah, that's going to be the focus of this. We are going to touch on the other fixtures though, because of course there are 3 points up for grabs for West Ham, who take on Liverpool. But maybe this is the weekend that Liverpool finally turn things around for what feels like the 9th time already this season. Yeah, we're going to get into all of that. Let me know in the comments below your predictions for this weekend's fixtures. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal. It's a derby for the ages, one of my favorite derbies in the league. And yeah, the last 5 times that we've played, it's been 3 wins for Arsenal, 2 draws. So not much to worry about in that regard. But Chelsea do look better. They look a lot better than the last time when we played. And I think the same goes for Arsenal too, which makes this derby all the more interesting. I think both sides had very good Novembers. Chelsea got 4 wins and 1 draw in their last 5. That draw obviously being that game against Karabakh in the Champions League. But some big wins there. They beat Spurs and of course they beat Barcelona. So yeah, I think the most impressive thing about that run has to be the fact that they only conceded 2 goals across all those games, across competitions. And they scored 11 as well. So they are fine in the back of the net and they are keeping goals out, which is always a good sign. Arsenal also had a very good November of their own. Same exact result in terms of win, draw, losses. They got 4 wins, they got 1 draw, that draw being Sunderland. But yeah, big wins for them as well. Also against Spurs, also against Bayern. Arsenal scored 14 in those games and conceded 4. But yeah, I think that it's a real sign that this is a game of quality versus quality. That being said, I think the quality of opponents across those 5 games is very different, which I am also going to get into, because I think that also plays a part in why I think people need to dial down their expectations in terms of Chelsea being title contenders just yet, at the moment. That's all I'm saying. The main goal threats for me from Chelsea's side of things, I'm looking at Pedro Neto. He's been in a good run of form, 4 goals across the last 5 games. Obviously got an assist or 2 as well along the way. I'm looking at Estevao, because Estevao has looked, but I mean, that goal against Barcelona alone is reason enough to worry about this kid. He's looking more and more confident with every single week already. He's only like 18 years old, defying a lot of expectations. He's the definition of a wonder kid at the moment. And honestly, I'm even looking at Garnacho, because Garnacho is starting to chip in a lot more with goal involvements. So I think that Chelsea, their main threats are coming from out wide, 100%. Because I think honorable mentions, you're looking at Gittins, that's that's another wide player who has looked good in the last few weeks. And João Pedro, for me too, I think is probably, I should probably start with him because he, for me, is one of the biggest threats in this game. But on Arsenal side of things, I think Chelsea are going to have their hands absolutely full because we got goals coming from everywhere, bro. If Leandro Trossard is fit, which it doesn't look like he will be after the injury against Bayern, if he is fit, Trossard's got 6 goal involvements in the last 5 games. 3 goals, 3 assists across all competitions. Mikael Merino's got 4 goal involvements. 2 goals, 2 assists. Eze got a hat-trick against Spurs, got an assist against Bayern Munich. We have got goals coming from all sides of the pitch. So, pick your poison, basically, when it comes to how you can handle Arsenal. I think that Arsenal have a lot more options in terms of how they can approach this game, whereas Chelsea definitely going to be relying on the wide players. And that means that midfield battle between Rice and Caicedo is going to be all the more important for Chelsea to win if they are going to have any type of joy on the flanks. So yeah, I think we have to look straight at that midfield battle. It's a clash of the titans. 2 best midfielders in the league at the moment. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And I think they play very, very good games. Of course, both of them had like man of the match performances against Barcelona and Bayern in this week, which is just like a testament to the quality that they have. But I think that with that debate about who is better, I think the obvious answer, the easy answer is, who would you prefer? Because they do play very different styles. They do play in different positions on the pitch. That's why I always think it's so odd that this debate always comes up. One thing that I will say, though, is that these are 2 players where it's a very rare example of spending £100 million working out. You don't see this very often, which is crazy to say, but both of these players have absolutely justified their price tags already. I know Declan Rice doesn't have the silverware to show for it yet. Caicedo definitely does. But Declan Rice, through his performances alone, and Caicedo, even if the trophies weren't there, through his performances alone, both these players have absolutely justified their price tag, which that alone I think is crazy. So you have to respect both players. I think as an Arsenal fan, I would pick Rice all day because he suits our system, and I think Chelsea fans would always pick Caicedo because same thing. So yeah, I think it definitely comes down to that at the end of the day. I think technically both of them are phenomenal. I think that Declan Rice obviously just edges it a little bit because he also does take set pieces. But that being said, I think that the way Caicedo defends, he probably edges it a little bit over Declan Rice. Although when Declan Rice was at West Ham, playing that more defensive-minded role, that was when he was fully in the discussion of who is the best holding midfielder. Like, I think if Declan Rice was playing that role for Arsenal, it may be an easier decision to just go Declan Rice is the overall better player. But I think for now, maybe it's debatable just because they're playing different roles. But yeah, overall, Declan Rice, I think, has a lot more versatility to offer, and that's why I particularly like Declan Rice's style of play. But that being said, Moises Caicedo is world-class, and I think that this battle is going to be a tough one. Declan Rice is going to chase down every single ball, as he always does, but this time, I think Caicedo is going to be right there with him every step of the way, which isn't something that he has had to deal with a lot this season. So it's going to be interesting. He may be too preoccupied in maintaining possession and, being defensively aware to really contribute to any attacks, and that could change how Arsenal approach this game. I think both players actually play a big role in how both teams attack, Caicedo included. Caicedo's also chipped in with the odd goal here and there, but I think between the two of them, they are going to be preoccupied with one another, and whoever wins that battle is going to decide who wins this game, effectively. That's just my opinion. I think that neither side has any joy if their midfielder, if their, linchpin in the midfield is losing that battle. That being said, I'll also say not to underestimate Zubomendi's defensive contributions for Arsenal. We've even seen on international duty how he completely clamped down on Kvaratskhelia on the wing, which was, I didn't see that coming. Zubomendi doesn't seem like the fastest player, but he's got it in him. So I think that Zubomendi is going to have his hands full as well, but that may also free up Declan Rice to be a little bit more on the front foot, which I'd like to see because he's also a goal threat. But same goes for Enzo on the other side, Enzo Fernandez. He also defensively can offer a lot, and he also has the odd goal in him too. So both sides are very, very similar in that regard in the midfield. Where they differ most, I think, is at the back in the defense, and that's where I think Arsenal are going to have most of their joy, but that's also where Caicedo may have his hands full because he's going to have a lot of marshalling to do in this game, bro. They're both Caicedo and Declan Rice are going to run themselves into the ground here. But yeah, I mentioned Arsenal being able to attack from anywhere on the pitch, through the middle, down either side. I think that Chelsea, on the other hand, their main threat to Arsenal is going to be their off-the-ball movement. And that's why I'm most worried about players like João Pedro and Estevao, and even Pedro Neto to an extent. I think Arsenal, the reason we're doing so well is because we are such a well-structured team, and I think that Chelsea's off-the-ball play can be a big challenge to that structure. I watched Chelsea versus Barcelona. Those Barcelona players were getting pulled everywhere across the pitch, bro, because they just couldn't cope with managing Chelsea's runs off the ball. Chelsea players were floating in and out of spaces like Barcelona were. They looked like they were absolutely lost on the pitch more often than not. And I was watching the game thinking, okay, how do Arsenal cope with this? Can we cope with this? And while I am comfortable with the idea of Yuri Timber locking down any winger that he's up against, I am a little bit concerned about Chelsea's ability to switch roles with each other, their players to switch roles with them. And this is without Cole Palmer, mind you. When Cole Palmer against Chelsea are going to look even better. But as things stand, Chelsea are a little bit of an anomaly. Just when you think you have them figured out, their players start to kind of go off script. And I think that can be a threat to Arsenal's structure. I do think that we are definitely defensively solid enough to manage it for over 90 minutes, but Chelsea will probably create a lot more than most teams have in recent weeks. But that being said, look, I think that Yuri Timber, he should manage with that. It's the other side that I'm worried about with Estevao, because Estevao versus Calafiori, I love Calafiori on the ball, but I think that Calafiori is still yet to fully convince me defensively. And Estevao is going to be a problem, bro. Estevao is going to be such a problem in this game. Whether it's Mosquera, who is the left centre-back, or if it's Hincapié brought back in at left centre-back, they are going to need to support Calafiori here, which is going to leave Saliba a little bit exposed. And yeah, I think while Saliba is good enough, I have that little question mark around Calafiori. Like I said, absolutely love Calafiori this season. Absolutely love his contributions. But defensively, I think that there are still one or two question marks. And this will be a good test. It'll be a good way for us to find out a little bit more about Calafiori, who has been having a great season so far. But maybe Miles Lewis-Kelly coming off the bench could have a similar impact to when Calafiori replaced Miles Lewis-Kelly against Bayern this time around. But yeah, I think that out wide, that's Chelsea's best bet of attacking Arsenal, and their off-the-ball movement with João Pedro, I mentioned him. He could be a proper thorn in the side for the Arsenal defense. Not so much in terms of he's going to be the guy to get the goal, but he could be the guy to get a lot of the attention, which creates the space for the guys to get the goal on Chelsea's side. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I think João Pedro also does, of course, have a goal or two in him. He's hurt Arsenal before when he was at Brighton. So I'm not at all saying that Pedro isn't as big a threat as Estevao or even Pedro Neto. I just think that he's going to be more middleman to any success that Chelsea has. But yeah, that's my main concern. Whereas for Chelsea, I think they need to concern with just about everything about Arsenal. You know, they're going to want to play on the front foot because they are the home side, but how much on the front foot can you play when if you leave even just a little bit of space, Arsenal are going to exploit it and they're going to hurt you, because Arsenal are so quick to transition from defense to attack. They are so quick to switch it on, especially with someone like Zubomendi there, who can just absolutely find the right player to get the ball to spark something. Martinelli always likes to play against Chelsea. I think his runs are going to be a constant threat for whatever fullback he comes up against. It's probably going to be Gusto, but yeah, he's definitely going to absolutely have a lot of joy down that wing. I can see it now. Both Brazilian players as well, they'll be familiar enough with each other's game. On the other side, I am definitely a little bit worried about Saka versus Cucurella. We've seen Cucurella pocket Saka before, which I hate to say out loud, but Cucurella is having a good season. He's definitely having a good season, and it must be said, he's had Saka's number before. Saka hasn't been in the best form lately, but I think he also isn't fully fit right now. So I do think that it's a little bit forgivable, but he probably will come alive in this game, and he needs to win that battle. He definitely needs to win that battle. It helps that we've got Eberechi Eze there as well. So Cucurella is definitely going to have his hands full, because Eze can float out wide and he can hover around those same positions with Saka. We've seen them link up very well before. So I think the support play that side is the way to go. But Saka versus Cucurella one-on-one, that is going to be a proper tug of war. I think it's going to be a good one to watch. So yeah, I think that Chelsea will cope there. It's just their centre-backs, bro. I know Mikel Merino's not a striker and Arsenal don't have an overall striker for this game, but I think Merino is more than enough of a threat to this Chelsea backline. And to be fair, we saw Merino sit very deep and assist in midfield, and he has a very, very nice over-the-top pass in him. He found Trossard with it before. He could find Martinelli or Saka with it in this game. Odegaard came back from injury. He made an appearance from off the bench against Bayern Munich. Maybe he even starts in this game. I honestly wouldn't start him. I think both sides should honestly line up exactly the same way that they did against Barca and Bayern respectively. I don't see any reason why they would switch out. I think the only change from Arsenal will be because Trossard got injured. You know, Martinelli will have to come in there. And also, look, Miles Lewis-Kelly, instead of him, we go with Calafiori. But I would go with Mosquera and Saliba again as the back two. I would go with Timber again at right back. I think that both sides, for the most part, should field the exact same lineups. And both games were proper signs of how they're going to approach this. I think it was a good test for Arsenal. Chelsea are going to press just like Bayern Munich did. Arsenal coped with that press. They played through the press, and they came out on top. And I think that Arsenal are going to have the same kind of joy in this fixture. I'm predicting an Arsenal win here. No surprise there. But I think the surprise comes in the fact that I think Arsenal are going to win this 2-0. I think that Chelsea aren't going to get a goal here. I think that people have been gassing Chelsea up a little bit too much, bringing them into the title talk here. Everyone needs to remember, they are only in this conversation because of wins against Burnley and Wolves, okay? Before that, they had lost at home to Sunderland. So I think everybody needs to just check their expectations. I know, yes, they had a good game against Barcelona. European football is very different to the Premier League football. And Barcelona were always going to be playing a very different game to what Arsenal are going to be playing in this fixture. You know, Barcelona play a different style of football. Chelsea, I don't think they'll be able to cope. I think they're going to get exposed. It's going to be smacked back to reality. They aren't going to be able to create enough meaningful attacks, and they're not going to be clinical enough to take advantage of the few opportunities that they do manage to create. So I am very, very confident going into this. nervous. At the top of the show, I did say I was nervous. Speaking about the game, I literally grew in confidence because I realized we are the Arsenal. It's just Chelsea. It's little old Chelsea, bro. Like, we have nothing to fear. I feared no striker. That much is for sure, bro. Harry Kane had 0 shots against Arsenal. Harry Kane, Harold Kane himself, had 0 shots against Arsenal, whether on target or off target. No shots. So why would I worry about any striker that Chelsea brings forward? I shouldn't worry about their wide players either, but I'm gonna give them respect because I don't like to completely underestimate an opponent. But yeah, Arsenal should come out of this comfortable winners, bro. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Chelsea versus Arsenal, who is winning this one, and is this one gonna be the ultimate say in who wins the league at the end of it all? Crystal Palace are at home to Manchester United. A horrible game for Man United to have to play after losing to Everton, because this is kind of a must-win game for Man United now and for Emery. They need to show something, but showing something at Selhurst Park is a tall order, bro. Crystal Palace do look decent at home. Crystal Palace are coming to this game with better form, although they did lose to Strasbourg last night. That being said, it was an away game. You know, they're back at Selhurst Park now. They've got a better defense than Manchester United. Going forward, I think Mateta, Ismail Assar, and even Yeremi Pino, they're going to hurt Manchester United in this game. I don't see Man United having a lot of joy here. It doesn't help that they do still have some injuries to players that could help in this game. I'm looking at Caicedo. And yeah, I just saw nothing in that Everton game to convince me that they're going to get even a point from this. So I'm honestly going to predict Crystal Palace winning this one 3-1. We got West Ham versus Liverpool as well. West Ham is obviously in trouble of their own, but they have looked better in recent weeks, it must be said. After they got that big win against Newcastle, they've shown that they can cause an upset. Liverpool have shown they can cause upsets in different ways because they just can't stop losing. But maybe it helps that Liverpool are playing away from home this time, because Anfield clearly is not a place of joy for them right now. So I think that could absolutely help them. And I also think if Slot just makes that tough call and finally drops Mo Salah, you probably have a better chance of getting a result here. And it feels stupid to do considering how things have been going. But I'm going to back Liverpool here to get a win against West Ham. They have to, bro. Logically, they have to do it. So I'm going to side with logic here. I'm going to say Liverpool win this one 2-1. And then just to burn through the rest, I got Brentford beating Burnley 2-0. Man City beating Leeds 3-0. Man City also kind of have to win after losing to Newcastle. Sunderland, I got them to beat Bournemouth 2-1. Everton versus Newcastle, I'm going for a 1-1. Spurs versus Fulham, 3-1 Spurs win. Unfortunately, Fulham, please prove me wrong. Aston Villa versus Wolves, I'm going 3-0 Villa. And then Forest versus Brighton, I'm actually going to go 3-1 Brighton. I think Danny Welbeck is going to do it again, bro. He is unstoppable when it comes to these types of games. But yeah, those are my predictions for this weekend. Let me know yours in the comments below. I am on the road to 200 subscribers before Christmas, so if you can help me reach that goal and you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Thank you as always for watching this video. Leave it a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one on Monday.